Hello. So we are going to do a quick video on completing the square because it's going to be something that you're going to need in a few weeks, and you need to understand how to do it. So this is now in our shared folder. This is going to be the annotated completing the square one. At least she didn't come out without a shirt on. At least she was covering herself. Good Lord. Welcome to homeschool. Okay, so we're going to have a couple of videos. Go, honey. Let me just, she's gone. We're going to have a couple of videos. This is going to be the one to do it algebraically with looking at, your A, B, and C versus algebra tiles. That's going to be another video that you'll understand. I don't do it as much with the tiles, so I'm recruiting Miss K. All right, just a couple things before we get started on this. I want to remind you or tell you that in standard form for this quadratic, we know it's a quadratic because of the square, right? And that's our largest exponent there. So our degree is 2 here. So ax squared plus bx plus c. And right now it equals 0, so that's good, but we will deal with ones that don't. A, B, and C are constants, right? And this is a confusing thing for a lot of students. They're given variables and they think, they're letters, they're variables. Well, A, B, and C are going to stay the same in this quadratic, right? We could actually see what this is going to be. We could graph this, and I'll show you how to do it in other videos and such. We can graph this, and X is the variable because as you move left and right, you're changing your X's, and that's going to mean you're in a different position. So you're in a different Y, a different f of x, but the a, b, and c stay the same. In this case, the a is in in every case, a is in what is in front of your x squared. It's your coefficient of x squared. So in this case, a equals 1. Okay, b is always in front of, it's always your coefficient of your x term. So your b is going to equal to 2. And c here is always what's in the back. And it should be in the form plus c. So since this is minus 24, this is going to be a negative 24. Okay, that's your a, your b, and your c. I know that might be a review for you. If not, pause, rewatch, do all those things. Okay. So when you are completing the square, the most important one, or the one that you're going to focus the most on, is your B. Okay? So you do want your A to be 1, right? So if A isn't 1, make it 1, and I'll talk about you doing that later. But your B is going to be your goal here. Because what you're going to do to complete the square, and I'm going to make some space, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, is we're going to, I forget where I was just talking about that. This is where scripts help. Okay, so your B term is what we're going to focus on. All right, so the first thing we want to do is we want to have all of our variables together on one side of the equation, and we can put that constant, we can put that C term over here. So what that's going to look like is, and I'm just going to write this again, we have x squared plus 2x minus 24. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my plus 20 or minus 24 over to the other side by adding, because right now it's 0, so I'm going to add 24 on both sides, 24. So what I have now is I have x squared plus 2x equals 24. Okay, so this is where that B term comes into play, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take half of B. All right, so in this case, that's going to be half of 2, which is 1. All right, step 1, take half of B. Okay, then, and maybe I'll type that out so you can see it. So, well, I guess step 1, really big because I'm zoomed in so far. Step 1 was really about moving the constant to one side. So 1 would be move constant to other side. And then step 2 is to take half of b, not that kind of half, half of b. And then step 3 is going to be square that half of b. Okay, I know right now it looks ridiculous, but let me do this so we can see what it says all together. Okay, so here we are. So we're going to move. So we already moved the constant to the other side. I'm going to move this over just a little bit so we can see it. Move that constant to the other side. We took half of b, right? Half of b is 1. And step 3 is to square that half of b and add to both sides. Okay, so what that means in this problem, I'm going to move my 24 over just a little bit so that I have more space, is since half of b is 1, 1 squared equals 1. So that was just there from before. I'm going to add 1 to both sides. Okay? And since it's an equation, since I'm adding 1 to both sides, I'm not changing the value here. Since you add 1 to both sides, you're good. All right, so ta-da, you just completed the square. And the way that you want to write this is this whole thing here is always going to be whatever the variable is plus whatever half of b was. So in this case, 1. And that's going to be squared equals 25. All right, so that's really what I want to see right now. Now, this is going back into, completing the square so that we can change it from standard form, which we had, to vertex form, right? This is starting to look like vertex form. Vertex form, if I can remind you, is a times x minus h squared plus k. That's supposed to be a k. And that is going to be, that's your standard form. Sorry, I'm getting emails and throwing myself off. So the only thing left to do would be, how does this differ from this? Well, this differs from this because we don't have that, we don't even need the equals right now, right? We don't know at this point what k is as it is, but we can make it that way by subtracting 25 on both sides, right? And what you'll get is that, sorry, this is just an aside, my asides, that's my aside. So I can say that x plus 1 squared, and then since I subtract 25 on both sides, that equals to 0 now. I have it in vertex form. I can tell you right now, my vertex is at -1, -25. So I could graph this as it is. But that is how you complete the square. I'll do another one, but obviously it does take some space, but I'm going to follow the rules that we have right here. All right, so let's do number 2. So I'm going to first step, move the constant to the other side. So here, I'm just going to rewrite that is p squared. I'm going to add 54 on both sides. This is what I'm doing, but I'm going to just write it over here. So p squared plus 12p, and that's going to equal to 54. The positive because it was negative. All right, so step 1. Step 2, take half of b. So b, remember, is what's in front of your, in this case, p, right? The variable without the exponent. So half of b, well, half of 12 is 6. All right, so that's going to be the thing that I want to keep my idea. So half of b is 6, and then square that and add it to both sides. Well, 6 squared equals 36, so I'm going to add 36 to both sides, right? Then we write it in this form. The variable plus something squared equals that other thing. Well, remember what goes in there? Well, b goes in there. So half of b goes in there. So that 6 goes in there, and then here I'm going to add, and I'm going to say that that is 90 because that's what it is, right? Okay, so that's fine. If I want to put it back into vertex form, I'm going to subtract 90 on both sides, and then I will get p plus 6 squared minus 90 equals 0. So now it's equal to 0, and that's really helpful for quadratics. We're going to talk more about that. My a here, I didn't talk about this before, but my a is 1, right? So we know that there's no stretch, no shrink. There's no, it's up, right? Because it's positive 1. And my vertex is at negative 6 because I switched the sign. And this one stays the same, negative 90. So that might be a beast to graph if you were like graphing it by hand. Desmos is wonderful. But that is how you're going to complete the square. You take half of b and add that to both sides. Now, I do suggest doing these steps because you'll get there. And here are children. All right, I hope you guys, I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I'm happy to do any follow-up videos. And there will be a video coming with algebra tiles. All right, so enjoy. Hi.